This video is a response to all of the requests that I've had from all of you Black Swans in the comments everywhere I go. I have been on podcasts and I have been asked these questions. Everywhere that I go, women who are raising their sons alone, single mothers, or mothers who are raising their sons with feminine men, or men who are addicted, or men who have certain issues and cannot be the masculine role model, always ask me, Chengi, how can I raise my son to be a masculine energy man? I know that not all of us watching this video are boy moms, but some of us may very well become boy moms as we unfold and get married, and some of us may never be moms, but we can at least help out our sisters and the women in our community to really support them as they raise the next generation of masculine energy men who are healthy, wealthy, wise, and know how to cherish a wonderful woman who's good to them. Now, obviously, if this is a video that is interesting to you, totally see you on the other side. And if it doesn't apply to you, why don't you send this video to a boy mom? Because we're on a mission and we want to get them young. I will see you on the other side. So I thought long and hard before recording this video, because obviously last week we spoke about how to raise young ladies into feminine women. It's only fair that, of course, I answer the burning question of the mothers with boy moms. And I'd like to say, as a boy mom myself, as a very proud boy mom of a young man that I absolutely am proud of in every way, shape or form, I would like to take all the credit, but I would like to say that his father and I have worked very hard together to raise an amazing man. But of course, all the glory, all the honor, all the wisdom goes and belongs to God. I am very grateful to have a young man who is an absolute gentleman and a real treasure to the planet and to the earth. And so I am really hopefully in a position to speak not just from the place where and the things that I've taught him to become the masculine energy man that cherishes women, that respects women and cares for women as deeply as he does, but also I am a mom and I know how difficult it is, and I understand the bond between mother and son. So I want you to know that as I say some of these things, they may feel a bit painful to hear, a bit difficult to embrace, but I want you to know that I know what that feels like, and we need to do it for his sake and the sake of the generations to come. And let us accept that the ancients were really truly wiser than the modern day person. Yes, they were a little bit brutal, took things a little bit far, maybe were not held as accountable as they should have, but really they were onto some real ancient wisdom. And in ancient cultures, and pretty much most cultures, there was a rite of passage for young men, and that rite of passage would happen quite early in life. Dr. Pat Allen says by the age of 10, a man must begin his initiation. I believe that it's around that age because even in Hebrew culture, by the time a man is 12 years old, he goes through his bar mitzvah. At this point, he is treated and regarded as a man in every way, shape, or form. For the Spartans, they would send them off to battle. In current African cultures, men are still sent off to war, to a training field. They are sent off, taken away from their mothers, and sent off into the wild to survive. In that place, they develop all of the stuff that they need as a man. And when that, I was told by my sister who lived in South Africa that, and I could be wrong, but I'm going off of what I remember her telling me, that a lot of South African men are sent off to this ritual where they go and they prove their manhood, and they go through all of these other things. And some cultures, it's the place where they go to be circumcised. In some cultures, there's so much that happens in that place where men must live in the naked wild, and they must fight bears, and they must hunt, and they must do all of these things. But when they return, they do return differently. They return as men. And she tells me that when they do return, they're not allowed to live in the same home as their fathers, and that they must have their own delegated home, yes, on the family land, but they can no longer live in the same home because two men cannot rule over one household. These things are still existing in many African cultures. They happen for men and for women sometimes. I know that I come as a Zimbabwean girl. We go away and we get taught how to be women and how to treat our men and how to be sexual with our men, and all of these things are taught to us by our father's sisters. And so we are very much equipped, and these traditions continue, not so much in the modern day as much as they used to, but they definitely continue. So what I'm sharing with you is not too dissimilar from this practice. Obviously, you know, our children no longer fight bears and lions. You know, we can't send them off to Africa for this ritual. And I know that in the English Western world, they would go off to join the army for a certain amount of time. It's really important that our boys are initiated into manhood in one way, shape or form. And in the modern world, where men are women and women are men, and the lines are blurred and masculine and feminine energy is completely disregarded, it's very difficult for us to realize how essential it is to foster the masculine energy in our men, because if we do not do that, then they will lean into feminine energy. We also have to understand that many young men are being raised by single mothers. They are a fatherless generation, and therefore they do not have a prototype of what it looks like to be in a household where you are with a man that cherishes his wife. Many may have their fathers, but their fathers are probably distant, uninvolved, uninterested in anything that's going on, or really deeply unhappy because they're in a marriage that they don't want to be in for whatever reason. You know, there's so many bad examples and so many amazing guys who are so lucky to have been raised by men in the home, who really know what it is to see daddy be gentle with mom, to see dad provide, and that look of satisfaction every time dad comes from work and he sits down on his favorite sofa. And that young boy sees a contented man because he's seeing a dynamic where the feminine and the masculine are working together in harmony. We have to accept in the modern day and move with compassion when we are dating as older women that a lot of these men simply do not have the blueprint. Their hearts are in the right place, but they simply do not have the blueprint. I was commenting today, R.C. Blakes and myself, Bishop R.C. Blakes and myself were commenting back and forth on his Instagram post where he posted that men need to stop calling themselves a prize. If any of you know this, I have a video on this channel saying why masculine men do not think of themselves as a prize, and I go into detail as to why this is the case. Well, I loved when we're going back and forth that I realized that we are actually at crisis point, because when men become feminine energy and normalize that within themselves, what ends up happening is the woman is left without a strong masculine leader. This sends the world into chaos. I was reminded of the Garden of Eden as I was speaking back and forth in the comment section with the Bishop R.C. Blakes, the Garden of Eden, when God told Adam what to do and how to steward the earth and gave him a helper, that he neglected his position and did not take responsibility. When God asked him, Adam, what has happened? What have you done? Adam did not take responsibility. Adam says, it is the woman that you gave me. This is the mantra of the modern day man. If women would just fix up, we could then be men. This is not the order of God. This is not the divine order of men and women. The man was the first, and he was given the mandate to take care of the planet, the children, and the women. He was given a mandate to name it, to protect it, to cherish it, so that it could flourish. But because he failed to do that, he now points to the woman, and this is a crisis we find ourselves in the 21st century, where men now say, it is the women you gave us. Obviously, I am one who is filled with grace and compassion and never want to point the finger, because I know that no one wakes up in the morning saying, hey, I'm a man and I want to be feminine. There's usually a trauma response of men to lean into feminine energy, just as women lean into masculine energy when they are traumatized. Because it is the feminine that strokes the masculine, and it is the masculine that soothes the feminine. And so when a woman is seeking to be soothed, she becomes masculine so she can soothe her feminine self. And when the man is feeling disempowered and he's feeling lost and he's feeling disrespected, he will lean into his feminine to stroke his ego, to stroke his masculine so he can feel better. I say all of this to explain that we can stem the flow of men becoming and feeling helpless and therefore sitting in their feminine energy by how we nurture and raise them. So point number 1, after the age of 10, a boy must be separated from his mother. This is the hard one. And what does that mean? Up to the age of 10, a boy must be raised similarly to the way that we raise girls, in terms of be nurtured, held close, protected, loved on, kissed on, and all of these things. But we must understand that as feminine women, our priority is safety. Our priority is security. The priority of the masculine man is conquering. The priority of the masculine man is winning. And so when we do not allow our sons to be distanced from us, we end up connecting them to our desire for safety and security. And when a man is being compelled by the desire to be safe and secure, he will inadvertently become feminine energy. That's not to say that we're going to allow our sons to do whatever they want to do, but at this point we must allow the masculine man in our lives to train that boy in a way that doesn't feel comfortable to our nurturing spirit. Sometimes it may seem very harsh and very hard, but we have to be able to lean back and realize that a man is going to face a world that we will never comprehend or understand. I was talking to somebody, a very exquisite gentleman, the other day, and he said to me, when you see a group of 10 boys, 10 men standing by the street corner at, early evening, how are you going to feel? I said, well, I'm just going to walk by and smile and go about my business because it's in broad day. Everybody's here. They're standing by the corner. And then he said, but can you teach your son how to walk past a group of 10 boys? Can you teach him that? And I realized that this is not something that I am capable of doing. At the age of 11 or 12, I realized, especially when my son started to go to high school, I was reluctant to let go of him until I realized that he was at a stage in his life now where he needed his father. Regardless of what I thought his father was, regardless of the opinion I had of his father, one of the things I've got to say is my ex-husband has many great qualities. And I knew that indeed, I may not like certain things, but he needed to be raised by a man. This was very, very difficult for me to let go of my precious gem, and I had to let him go and live with his dad. Some of us do not have that as an option, but it is really important that we find somebody that can come into our lives, an uncle, somebody we trust, somebody who is not going to abuse our son, somebody who is not going to do crazy things, somebody we truly trust to really come in and help us raise him. I'm going to talk about that a little bit further. But what I'm talking about as a mother is disengaging that emotional attachment that is so tight that we cannot cut the umbilical cord on him as a man and let him be a man. At some point, we have to acknowledge that our baby boy is becoming a man. This is really important because often it's the energetic pull that stops our young men from becoming men. It is not necessarily what we're doing or saying, but it is the energetic pull, the desire to keep him close that ends up becoming a reason why he does not flourish into his manhood. It is the most painful experience for any mother to wave her son off as he goes out into the wild, knowing how frail he might be, knowing how unexposed he may be. But she must have faith that the process to manhood requires him to go through this. I created the Black Swan Nation because I wanted women from all over the world to be able to access on the point help with their dating and relationship needs. We have the expertise of our world-class coaches, including myself, supporting you ladies through your dating journey to have access to live coaching without having to blow the bank. This, of course, we can only take a certain amount of ladies and support a certain amount of ladies, but I want you to know that you are currently welcome to the Black Swan Nation. You may end up on a waiting list, or you may get lucky and be able to get right into the Black Swan Nation, where we provide more insight, where we discuss more personal stories that will be of use to you. In the Black Swan Nation, there are no holds barred. It is unfiltered. It is only for the brave, because in the Black Swan Nation, we give you the raw truth. So all you have to do is follow the link on this video, and we will see you on the other side. Point number 2. A very important conversation that a mother has with her son is to let him understand that he must not duplicate the relationship she has with him with that of a partner. This is really very important because the mothering role is feminine and masculine, but as he grows, as they start off as babies into becoming young men, it is more masculine than feminine in the regard that she is planning, she is directing, she's telling him what to do, where to go, it's goal setting, it's it's goal orientated. Everything is structured if you're going to be a good mom. And so he leans into the structure that the mother creates. The relationship between mother and son is that of the masculine and the masculine within a nurturing environment. Therefore, if we teach our sons, if we say to our sons, the way you are with me is how you have to be with every woman. I know what we mean by that is the way you love me and the way your heart is towards me. I want you to be that way with your woman. However, it is not that relationship that must be duplicated. Rather, it's a relationship of the father and the daughter that must be duplicated. And what do I mean? Before we all run off and get crazy, I don't want my man or my child treating his woman like his daughter, and I don't want any man treating me like his daughter. I'm speaking about the loving attention that a man gives to his daughter. A man will die for his daughter. A man will protect his daughter. And there are things that will never come out of a man's mouth to say to his daughter, ever. Yet many men can say certain things to their mother and it is acceptable. There are some things a man will never say or require from his daughter because he considers himself her ultimate provider, protector, and the one who will cherish her the most. I always say to men, if you would not do it to your own daughter, do not do it to any woman that you date. If you would think it inappropriate to do to your daughter, say to your daughter, treat your daughter, do not do it to any woman that you date. Obviously, we can only take the analogy so far because obviously there are things that men will do with their women that they would not do with their daughters, if you know what I mean. And of course, the dynamic is a little bit more balanced in that it is a complementary relationship where the man and the woman are complementary of each other rather than one subjugated to the other. Albeit the complementary journey requires one to submit to the other so that there can be divine order and so that things can move in one direction. However, it is the ability of the man to cherish the woman. It is the ability of the man to protect the woman. It is the ability of the man to provide for the woman that naturally inspires her feminine energy to submit. We know that there is power in submission. And I know that a lot of us are resistant. I would resist too if I was being required to bow to a clown with a crown, as my friend R.C. Blakes always says. Nobody should submit to a man who cannot show up as a man in her life. Submission is easy. It's what we do at work. We submit under the vision of the company. We submit to the role that we play. And as a result, we get paid really well for the job that we do. In this moment, as I'm speaking to you, I'm submitting to the responsibility of my calling. I am submitting to you. I'm submitting to the work. Submission is not a passive, vulnerable, helpless position. It is a position of power that allows us to operate within the lovely structure where we can truly blossom and shine. Yes, many of us have a big problem with that, but we want to raise our sons to be the kind of men that inspire submission in a woman. A man should never have to command it or demand it from a woman. The way he moves and the way that he holds space for her should naturally make a woman want to sit back and be in her feminine. This is how we raise masculine energy men. And so we must teach them. I sit down with my son and I say, son, I want you to take away the honor and the respect that you have for me and give it to your wife. But understand that as I raise you, I have to have a say. I have to say no and I have to say yes, and I'm ultimately an authority over you. However, your spouse is going to be looking to you, and so be gentle and be kind and make sure you show up for her and make sure that you understand that she will follow your leadership or lack thereof. I cannot follow your leadership. I'm your mom. We have to understand this because many men are duplicating their relationship with their mothers with their girlfriends, expecting their girlfriends to protect them, provide for them, lead the way for them, and cherish them. This is problematic because in many ways, as we raise our sons, they are in feminine energy. They have to do as they're told. They must take our commands. They have to obey. The next thing that I want to share with you is that at the age of 10, your son must be respected by you. Yes, it is a switcheroo. It is not easy, but at some point, the pushing away element that I was talking about earlier, the energetic cutting, also means that I now respect you as a man. What that means and how that shows up for my son and I, for instance, is that when he speaks, I listen. I do not interrupt him. And if I want to make a point, I ask for permission to do so. And if I interrupt him, I apologize for doing so. I speak to him as though I was speaking to God. The man that I respect the most is the Most High, and I would never disrespect him. And I always share this story here on this channel, that the moment that I made a decision to cut the cord spiritually and to position myself as the respecting woman in his life, he automatically took on his masculine role. Everywhere I go, my son carries all of the heavy shopping. He opens every door, and he takes care of me in a way that a man should take care of a woman. Obviously, I'm not his woman, and ultimately, I'm still his mom. I still need to give him money, and I still make the final decisions. But the point that I'm making is, as I respect my son, it is not that I will not have the final say, but how I arrive at the final say is really very important. I was watching a movie the other day, and it was actually quite good. I think it was called All American. And the mom is this masculine energy figure who's trying to keep her son from the gangs and keep him alive. I cannot imagine what that life can be like. Anyway, he was talking to her and he was getting fired up at making his point. And his mom turns around and says to him, "Take the bass out of your voice." Obviously, that sounds kind of cute. However, it is extremely damaging to the masculine man. To take the bass out of his voice, to insist that he power down his masculine energy in order to handle you, is the wrong request. What the mother must do must soothe and acknowledge his rage. "Son, I see that you are not happy with the decision that I have made, and I understand. Please do not speak to me in that manner. Would it be okay if we sat down and had a conversation?" We cannot go toe to toe with our sons and expect them to have masculine energy. Because if the first woman they met in their lives debases them and makes them have to surrender and become helpless, then they will live their whole lives expecting that of women and accepting it of women. I respect my son because I told him never to marry a woman who does not respect him, because he will be and is a respectable man. I respect my son because if I do not show him what respect looks like, he will not be able to identify it in the women that he meets. This is very important because not only do we want our sons to be great mates to a wonderful woman, we do not want our sons to fall prey to the many dangerous Delilahs and Jezebels that make up part of the female population in numbers and in droves. We must protect our sons from bringing home a woman of disrepute, a woman we do not like. We want to meet our sons' girlfriends and be proud and say that right there is a classy woman. But unless we're deliberate and intentional in how we teach them to select a woman, they will indeed ruin their lives by choosing the wrong woman. The woman a man chooses determines how far he will go in life and what he'll be able to accomplish. There are many men behind prison bars and cells today who are there because of a woman, to impress a woman, to try and please a woman. They went into a life of crime in order to get a woman. And when we do not teach our children at a young age how to choose a woman, then this becomes a problem. Which leads me to my next point, choosing a woman. This is something we cannot leave our sons to just get on with. Just find somebody pretty and bring her home to me. No, we have to be like Solomon's mother, who sat him down and broke down the semantics of a woman of virtue. Every mother in history has sat her son down and given him the tools, the conscious ability and the cognitive ability to choose a good woman. These are the signs, son, when you are with a good woman. The sign is that your life will multiply. The sign is that you will be inspired. The sign is that you will grow strong and confident and powerful. When you meet the right woman, she will exponentially grow you, increase you. You will just become the better version of yourself. If you have to do anything that is less than you, or she requires anything less than you, this is not the woman for you. It is really important that as mothers of boys, we are intentional and deliberate about directing them towards the kind of woman they must go, because a lot of the issues we're having with the modern man is because no one taught him how to select a good woman. He was taught how to get a woman into his bed. He has been taken in the barbershop, taken around the corner, and given tricks of how to get a woman into bed. But the selecting of a wife is that which is reserved for a king. There's a scripture I love in the book of Proverbs. It is the pleasure of God to hide a thing, but the glory of a king to seek it out. You see, the king has a particular mindset. He understands that that which is precious is often hidden and must be sought out. He has a keen eye for something that is not common. And he knows that because he was raised by a queen who was able to instruct her son. If you want your son to not be used by women and hurt by women so much so that they throw him into feminine energy and he's stuck in there, then he must first learn how to select a good woman. Please do not leave it to the internet to teach your son. Be first at the table for this conversation. We want to teach our sons to hunt so that they can eat. This is very important. A man must hunt to eat. Teaching our sons that they can attract resources, attract women, attract great things is not the masculine way. Indeed, there is an energy force a man can create around himself that does attract opportunity, but a masculine man gets what he wants by going for it, by hunting it down. It is not masculine for a man to just accept his female suitors and choose from them. This is feminine. It is important that our sons know that the men that ultimately get the queen are the ones that hunt down for a queen, are the ones that are prepared to work and do what it takes to give themselves an edge to compete for a queen. We must restore the hunter in our sons. The next point is, and may be very unpopular, but it is to encourage his healthy aggression. We cannot require our sons to be protectors and refuse them the right to exercise their aggression in healthy environments and in healthy ways. We say to them, please don't hit your brother, don't do that. What we probably need to do is say, hey, if you guys are gonna fight brother to brother, let's cordon off this area and let's have a set of rules, and whoever wins gets a prize. In this way, we're not discouraging them. They're gonna fight anyway. They're gonna fight out there and harm themselves. This way, we're saying, I am prepared to hold space for you to fight, but we're gonna have rules and nothing's gonna break, and we're going to make sure we stop at a certain point. I know this sounds really silly, but the reality is nurturing your son's aggression is very important for his particular survival out on the streets, because a man who has a healthy aggression is intimidating to other men, even if he's smaller than them. Now, the best way to really hone in his aggression is to put him in some kind of combat sport. This is crucial because combat sport teaches young men how to be disciplined. It teaches young men how to use their bodies. It teaches young men how to use their aggression in a way to protect themselves, not to start aggression, not to start fight. My son has done judo. Right now he's moved on to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and his father and him are always sparring because his father was a martial artist as well. It's really, really important that we give our sons a creative expression as well as an aggressive expression. We want our sons to be able to not only defend themselves in the rough world that belongs to men, but also protect their families, the environment, and the people around them. And we must equip them at a young age whilst they're still boys to do that. It gives them a deep sense of discipline, camaraderie, other men, and just being around masculine energy and getting some of their needs met. Yes, sometimes men need to be held too. And sometimes when they're wrestling themselves, they're actually getting their oxytocin from that. I know it sounds weird, but this is how men are wired. So give your sons an opportunity to be in some kind of combat sport, boxing or judo, karate, whatever. There's so many opportunities, but do encourage it and make it a thing. The next point is encourage your sons to be in sport. Sport is particularly important for masculine energy because masculine energy is competitive. It is conquering. It is controlling. As they do combat sport, they learn to conquer their fears, to conquer the other person, to have that conquering mindset, that combat mindset that brings the ability and nurtures the ability to conquer. But when they're in sport, it nurtures the ability to compete. Our sons have got to have a healthy competitive energy. What we have in the 21st century are men who do not want to compete, they want to be passive. Men who get upset when a woman is dating more than one man. And men who don't say, whatever, I'll blow the competition out the water. Next, these are masculine energy men. Nowadays, you women are just out here dating other men. Well, no, she is interviewing her suitors and may the best man win. And as a man, this should not pull a man back and do, oh no, it's not fair. This should really trigger your son. Yes, love good competition. I was talking to a gentleman once when I was online, just doing my research, and he was saying, oh, I'm gonna come and get you, whatever. And I quite liked his energy. And then I said, well, if you can get through all the other competitors, And then he said to me, I'll blow them out the water. I was like, come on now. Yes, real men still exist, right? Real men and masculine men will compete for you. They like the idea that other men want you. Turns them on, gets them going, makes them show up. But in the modern day, feminine men really do have a problem with this idea because they assume you've given your heart off to other men. Now, I'm not saying that they're all wrong. I know that there are women that are out here on these hair streets, not just dating, interviewing men, but actually sleeping around with every single one of them. Of course, this is not nice as a man. I would not want to court a woman who is just sleeping with everybody and I'm just going to jump in there and also be one of the many. Of course, I want to be able to work hard, court a woman, and get the prize. Okay? So I understand. I know that it's not just men being silly, but we do have to understand that these things are rooted in parenting that is off. The next thing that I did mention a little bit earlier on was allowing our sons to have a relationship with their fathers. Ooh! Chengi, what? Do you know what his daddy did to me? Do you know the kind of father we're talking about? Honey, stop. I am not talking about your abusive, criminal, beat down, crazy man who is the biological father of your child. But I am talking about the father of your child who is a decent man, but you two just did not get on. Maybe he hurt your feelings. Maybe he did stuff to you. Maybe he cheated on you. But does that make him a bad father? Does that mean that he's not entitled to speak into his son's life? This is something I understand all too well, because I did not think that my son needed that. However, I did have the wisdom to know that our sons are wise and they will eventually work out the difference between their fathers and who they are and wanting to become in the world. Eventually, the picture will begin to unfold as to why you even divorced without you getting in the way of the father-son relationship. Ladies, please may we not use our children to punish their fathers for crimes committed against us, because we're not punishing their fathers, we're punishing our sons. Think about it. If he is not in any physical danger or any real psychological danger, allow him to be raised by his father too. If this is not the case, then what we want to do is make sure that there is a man in our lives that we trust, a man who he will respect, that would be willing to take on the responsibility of fathering our sons. Last but not least, teach your son how to get up. Teach him to fall and get up. Teach him that a man always gets up, that we do not have the luxury of staying down. Teach him to be the king that he was born to be. Getting up is the masculine way. We cannot sit around and look at the world and say it's not fair and sit down. No, we must get up. And when all is said and all is done, pray. Pray that your son becomes the high-value masculine man that he deserves to be, and that he will meet a high-value feminine woman who will absolutely respect, honor him, and build a legacy with him. I hope that this video was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. In the meantime, take care of you. Love you lots. Bye-bye now. Well done for coming to the end of this video. What I want to ask you is, what have you learned? What is your takeaway? And what are you going to start practicing right away? Those 3 things are how you are going to get the best out of every class here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. Please put it in the comments so that we can all have a look. So I can have a look, the coaches can have a look, and I promise you, we read every comment. We may not be able to reply to every comment, but we read all of your comments, and we want to see how you are growing. And we will see you on the next video.